Soundstripe. 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 Soundstripe.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Holler Podcast for season 3. I know I said podcast, but it's
I
podcast.
wasn't even I wasn't even looking at
Okay,
you for
I
that.
saw your
Carl's over there
face.
going.
I'm happy to be here. What can I say?
But I am Stephen Borbell, driver of the number 2 Ford Mustang for Next Level Motorsports, and I am joined by Carl Pooler and Richard Wolsiford this evening. Carl, how are you doing tonight?
Like I said, I'm doing great. I'm feeling okay, a little anxious, but we're good to go. Coming off a 10th place finish, I feel pretty proud of myself.
That you should. A top 10 in this day and age with the league as it currently is honestly a really big accomplishment. But congratulations there, Richard. You look tired, buddy.
I don't think I'm really tired. I don't know. Just been had to drive to Charleston today, so that was 4 hours on the road for work. That was a lot of fun just to work on something for 30 minutes. So that's always a great time. But not doing good tonight. I mean, Dover was fun.
Dover was fun. And I hate to say that it was our best race of the season overall as like a league, but in the short season that we've had, it was our best race.
To be honest, though, like the racing was actually really good when we were actually racing. Like it wasn't bad racing. It just stuff happened.
Yeah, just what you said. Stuff happened, and that's normal to happen. But there was improvement across the board, I would say, in a lot of areas, and we'll get into that here shortly. Sorry for the dogs barking. They are a absolute nightmare tonight. But before we get into anything tonight, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, obviously, Butt Kicker, the leader in haptics, Sundance Pizza, Ideal Lease, Ascendance Trucks, RevSimShop.com, and of course Advanced GG Supplements, and also that promo code for Richard's. Richard got us that promo code of 10% off of your order at Advanced GG using WolfXLive10. And any of the proceeds from that order will go directly into funding the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series. So feel free to go there. And without further ado, we can get right into it. Dover this week, we were at Dover for the Ascendance Trucks 175. It was 175 laps at Dover. Stage breaks were 45 and 90. And then to the end from there. Stage 1. Kind of a nightmare. We kind of saw little flashbacks from Phoenix. We'd go 2 laps and then a caution come out. Go another 3 laps, caution come out. It was tough to get in a rhythm, and long runs it seemed like weren't going to matter because you only had 2 laps and those restarts were really important. There got to a point where I was restarting up with Adam each time and we'd lose 2 or 3 spots, and it's like before we knew it we were outside the top 10 and we're like, what's going on? Like, we're just restarting poorly and we're just falling back. We got a little bit of a run there, I think towards the end of the stage, maybe 7 laps or so, 7-10 laps give or take. But then it wasn't great first stage. Second stage, on the other hand, was pretty decent. I think there was a 20 or 30, maybe even close to 40 lap run we had. It was a good run to the stage, which ended up coming out, I think, 4 laps early. I think caution came out around lap 86, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it came out at 86 to end the stage.
So it was a good 30 to 40 lap run we had, and everyone got spread out. Everyone started getting a little friendly, I guess, not forcing issues. But then again, it's Dover. I hate to just sound like it every track of me like, oh, it's Phoenix, like we're going to have issues on restarts. Oh, it's Dover, we're going to have issues. But Phoenix is difficult for restarts for the dog leg. Dover's difficult in restarts because it's just very tight corners, and if someone slips up on a restart, there's nowhere to go. Like, the walls are right there next to each other. You don't have any room to move. So to cut everyone a little slack, it was Dover. Restarts were tough, and passing in the corners is tough. You don't get a lot of room to complete a pass, especially coming off the corner. You tend to wash up to the outside wall off of 2 and off of 4. And usually if someone's out there on the outside, you just get into them and get into the wall, or you get loose very easily. So there was some self spins, there was some unintentional contact. I know netcode was a really big issue this past Tuesday night with several issues, several incidents, that is. And I know the big one was Mason Houseman and Isaiah Sutherland got into it battling for the lead. And my personal opinion, it was netcode. I know there are some other varying opinions here, and that's totally fine. But it's just one of those hard racing deals. It was very difficult to make a judgment in that scenario just because what we were dealing with. And then unfortunately, our race control rev was having his own issues, and it had to be relayed through Gavin, who jumped in and did a great job in his first time doing a lot of race control talking and reviewing. But great work by the two of them to get through a little bit of a chaotic night. And I don't really remember stage 3 that much. We had a lot of cautions, I remember again. And then there was a pit strategy thing. But I'm going to stop there and stop rambling. But Richard, you had a good night yourself. Finishing second, a great run for you. Third.
I took a position from Adam after the race.
Finished third. Take us through your evening and on Tuesday night.
Oh man, so Dover, like you said, it's not a easy track. It can be fun once you understand it, and I've never been able to tackle Dover and understand it very well. I've always been super loose and just can't control the car, but I figured something out Tuesday night. So was able to qualify 6th, and one thing I've been telling Carl and pretty much everybody in the league, qualification is huge now in this league. With 35 plus cars every race now, I mean, being up front is where you're going to be the safest at the moment. So that's one thing I've been trying to focus on, is trying to get speed, and I found it at Dover, finally getting 6th place qualification. Finished stage 1 in 3rd place. Stage 2 was the longer run, so I wasn't able to really save tires very well because I was very used to the short runs from the cautions from stage 1. So I kind of drove the car a little harder than I should have. Got loose in front of Adam in EU that one time that I don't know how I saved.
I thought you were going to take us out multiple times.
Oh, dude, so in the car, when that happened, in the car, it didn't feel like it was an insane save or anything like that. I was like, oh, the car got loose. Okay, we're straight. Let's keep going. I watched a broadcast today. I was like, I should have been dead. It really made the tires very mad from that point on for the rest of the stage. So I ended up falling back like just outside of 10th. I think it was 13th is where I finished in stage 2. So didn't get any points there, but finishing 3rd place at Dover at a track that I'm not super great at normally is definitely an accomplishment. But Johnny, we were coming in for pits. I think we had 70 laps to go, 75 laps to go. And we were coming to the pits under the caution. Mm-hmm. And Johnny, he had already done testing. He said 2 tires. So we're like, okay, cool. So all 3 of us, Carl, me, and Johnny, all took 2 tires, which put me and Carl back from 13th back all the way up to the top 10 again. So we jumped a good 6-7 cars, and that's what helped us with our end of the race run to be able to finish 3rd and 10th for Carl. So it was the racing was great when we were racing. And again, there wasn't really anything exceptionally egregious in that race. It was just honestly just lack of I want to say practice or just understanding of the track really is what it seemed like. Mostly just not enough space really given to a lot of people. So but stage 2 was a lot of fun with that 30 or 40 lap green flag run we had.
It's tough to put a finger on really what the issue was. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I mean, I was top 10 all race, so I never got to see really anything in the back. And everything I saw was, I never saw any issues with anyone. Everyone was racing aggressive, but it was good racing most of the time. I never really saw an incident other than the Isaiah and Mason incident, but that was, again, I believe it's a netcode thing, but it was just a racing deal sort of incident. So I really don't know what the crux of the issues were other than the restarts. And early on in a run is difficult for some people to race side by side, I guess. Maybe that's just a product of mile track racing, and it will get cleaned up next week going to 1.5 miles where we can get spread out more and just have more room to move. I guess we'll find out.
And I will say, I was kind of in your same boat. Like I was, not to toot my horn either, but I was 13th was the lowest I got in that race. So I never got to see all the stuff that was happening behind us. And I just, Carl, but I just watched a broadcast today, and I mean, it was crazy because it felt a lot worse in the car than honestly did that it looked on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Like there was still a lot of, and there's the special guest Addison Borville.
Hey,
Hi,
Addison
Addison. Give us a good
Borville.
wave. There she is. So, but like honestly, on the broadcast, it didn't seem that terrible. I mean, it definitely could have been better. But it was very enjoyable to watch. I mean, there was the situations we had like 3 or 4 laps and then a yellow, 3 or 4 laps and a yellow. But overall, the race was still fantastic to watch. And just that's the only experience I have right now watching whatever was happening in the back was just the broadcast. So, Carl, on the other hand, was all the way in the back to all the way in the front to all the way in the back to all the way in the front. So, Carl, I mean, what was your experience from the back to the front?
Oh man, chaos, nothing but anarchy reigned, and there was destruction and mayhem.
This isn't Red Dawn. Come on, reel it in.
I was just throwing out all these adjectives that I can describe the battles that I saw, some of the racing that was going on, and so this has been the 3rd week in a row. I had a really rough week. Again, another rough race, but I was really happy. That explains my race. I was really happy with the 10th place finish. I was ecstatic. And I was actually really happy. I qualified 11th, and I knew all I needed to do was just kind of stay up around the top 10, hover for a little bit, maybe get some stage points, and, see what happens. Long story short, this is my 6th stage without any stage points. And it was a struggle. I incident early on, and then I missed the shift. Went to neutral. Never had that happen before. So that set me back. Had an incident where I kind of spun and overcorrected. Had to use a fast repair, but I was able to stay on 1 lap down, so that was good. But I literally did go from last and front and back again and front, and then because I had an EOL due to that misshift. The second stage, I think, was in my wheelhouse. I think I put in, I almost 400 laps or so, I would say. 500 laps of practice, just because I know, like Richard said, Dover's not my strong suit. I am really, really bad at Dover. So I really wanted to come in prepared. And I tried to put as many laps as I could. And so I was working on qualification as well as long runs, and I think I was better on the long run than the short run because I'm just not that aggressive a driver, and I usually burn up my tires. I don't know how these guys can be aggressive and save their tires at the same time, but I'm not that guy. So I knew it was going to be a struggle, and the second stage, I think I gained the most ground. I gained the most spots than anywhere else throughout the race because everyone got strung out. I was able to save my tire a little bit more. And on top of that, I am one of the worst drivers at the choose rule. This is terrible. I absolutely am terrible at the choose rule. So all the cautions did not help me there. But struggling and finishing in 10th place this week, it feels really good getting my first top 10 of the season. And I think the racing, especially, I would say 12th on back, maybe 12th to 25th-ish, I feel like there are so many drivers. There's a ton of drivers that are within thousandths of a second in terms of driving skill and speed and pace and saving. There is a lot of fighting. There's a lot of clawing going around out there. It's super difficult to navigate with a lot of new drivers. So everyone's still trying to find their feet, and it's struggle because, of course, everyone thinks, hey, I have the right here. I should be here first. When I feel like sometimes if you give a little bit more, think about, okay, they're going to drive hard past me. This is how I like to drive. It's like, hey, they're going to pass me. I'm going to pass them when they burn up their stuff in 5 laps. But that can't happen when there's repeated caution. So the aggression almost pays off more, leading to more aggression. And then you start having these incidents. Hopefully we can get this cleaned up. Like you said, Kansas, a mile and a half. I'm optimistic, especially with some of the discussions, changes that have been enacted today. It's going to be, I hope, a little bit cleaner. We're going to have a lot more racing, and we'll give Andrew and Zach up in the booth a little more to talk about.
I sure hope so. And I think you bring up a good point of the 12th to 25th or so. I think that is some of the best racing that we have. The group there is insanely tight skill-wise. speed-wise, that I've seen so far in these 3 races. Yes, we have good racing up front, but it's a little bit different. It's more strategic and it's more cerebral, thinking out your plans and thinking out your moves and the right time to set something up. But when you're back in the 12th to 25th range, it's these guys that are talented and they're just going for it and they're racing their hearts out, and it's honestly really good to see. And I think it's been great for the league to have that big of a group that's in the same skill range, fighting for good positions. So it's really awesome to see.
And I mean, we had that last season also. We had the people that ran up front, and then
For
we had
sure.
the people that ran in the back that were still like, it was still great racing in the back of the pack. But now with this huge influx of drivers we've got, honestly, it has filled in all of the spots in both sets of, skill levels. And honestly, like, when we can get the cautions cleaned up, I think we're going to have some of the best track-wide racing that you're probably going to see on a broadcast, and I full-heartedly believe in that. It is wild racing. Everybody's clawing for every position they can get, every inch they can get on the track, and it's going to be great to watch from 1st to 38th.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. We really have groups of battles going on all the time during the track, and even if Kansas traditionally is a track where you can get spread out in league races in the past, and that's a good thing, but I think we're always going to have a battle going on in the track just because of where people lie. And that's, I think, what we really hope for is maybe it's preaching being a little bit patient on those restarts of you might lose a spot or two, but just get it back later in the run kind of deal. Just because you lose 1 spot or 2 spots, you lose a point or 2, it's not the end of the world. Like there's 40 guys out there most weeks, it seems like at this point. So just hold on to it and let's ease down on the cautions. Dover was a step in the right direction. It really was. And
It honestly was.
Phoenix was a nightmare, but then again, last season, our second race of the year was Richmond, and that was an absolute nightmare as well. Like, we really cleaned it up from there on out, and put on a great product. And I think with what we have now, we can put on that great of a product. And Dover was, like I said, a step in the right direction, so I can see that trend continuing. And now we get into the more traditional tracks of, we have Kansas this week. We do have Bristol the following week. But Bristol, I've seen in leagues past, it's not a big caution issue. For whatever reason, you would think it is. It's a short track, but I don't know what it is. That one's going to be still a little bit of a wild card for us, I think, with how many people we have.
I think the reason why Bristol is usually less of a caution fest is because it is a faster high banked track, and the cars actually feel like they stick to the track versus slipping and sliding. Yeah, the car might get a little bit more tight, later in the run, but the car's not really breaking loose. I mean, you might have your issues coming out of the turns here and there, but for the most part, the car really sticks to the track at Bristol and produces some great driving for almost any skill level through with this next gen car.
It definitely does. And then we'll have that 2-week break after Bristol of any issues that come upon. You can forget about them during that 2 weeks. We come back to a road course. You're not going to drive into many people at a road course. I mean, just because road courses are various skill differential between drivers. Most likely we get spread out and you forget about it. But then we go in traditional tracks of Nashville's in there, I think Chicagoland, and then Pocono. You get more traditional-esque schedule. So we'll really, I think, by then be hitting our groove in the limited cautions, and it will benefit us at that point. And we'll see that benefit then. And I hope I'm right there. But we can only see, and we can only hold ourselves accountable. Each of us have a role to play in this to not be the one causing these issues, and that's all I can say to that. But
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I think this is the 3rd season in a row we've documented where it's hard to find a rhythm with the schedule. It is a very challenging schedule, mentally challenging, knowing, you got to race around each other, you got to use the brake, you got to use a little bit of give and know where your tires will slip and grip, and if we get long runs. Can you imagine trying to do green flag stops at Dover if we had a green flag run? I mean,
that is the worst track to do a green flag stop.
It is super hard. You got to go from like 150, 160 to 35 miles an hour. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have to do green flag stops. I mean, I always want to do green flag stops, but if there's any track we did not want to do it at, Dover would have been the one. And that, I will say, that is one thing I am kind of thankful for, because I mean, even in practice, trying to get down to that 35-mile-an-hour speed is just it's wild. I full believe that Dover needs to have probably a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit for pit and maybe a 50 for pace, because even the pace for yellow was god horrendous. I'm like, there's no reason this track should be this slow.
Well, you're asking yourself to go 3 times the speed versus any other track. I mean, you talk about, let's say, Daytona. At least the pace speed there is 50, or not. The pace speed is 65.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess technically you're still going 3 times. So really, within the realm of possibility, they're doing it proportionally, but still, if you go down Dover under a green flag, it feels like even longer than, say, Martinsville or even Bristol, because it's so just agonizingly slow. But it's because I had to do that. I overcorrected, had to use fast repair towards the end of stage 2. Went 1 lap down, didn't take any tires, just got the fast repair, came right in front of the leaders, and was the only car 1 lap down, and that saved my race right there. So it is so slow. I almost lost 2 laps just going down, getting a fast repair, which takes 2 seconds, and coming back out. It is that slow.
It was very excruciating, and wanted to go over Dustin Stallings having to start the race 3 laps down for intentionally wrecking Isaiah at Phoenix. For those that didn't know, that was the situation that was thrusted on to Dustin at the beginning of the race. He had to start 3-lap penalty. But with how we had been racing at Phoenix, like, we kind of assumed, oh, you're going to get those 3 laps back before the end of stage 1. It didn't quite work out like that, but I do know he ended up finishing on the lead lap. And if my recollection is correct, he was the top Maverick Motorsports driver based off finishing position at the end of that race. I'll have it up. I believe so. And I'm just
Yeah,
going to
at
go with that.
16th, let's see. Brendan was 22nd.
Yeah, he was 16th.
Mason 29th. Zachary finished 33rd. So yes, he was. And now I do want to put this out here, and this was another, I think, a touchy part at the end of Tuesday's race is Dustin played it very, very smart. He took the penalty. I anytime I was around him on the lead lap, he would let me by. He wasn't racing hard. He wasn't doing anything egregious. Very respectful on the track. The moment he got on that lead lap, he was screaming through traffic, not making any incidents, but man, he was on a mission. And he played it smart, was able to get the lucky dog when he could, and Dustin still, granted, if Dustin didn't have the 3-lap penalty, who knows, he would have been up there possibly racing for that win. But a 16th place finish after a start like that with everything going on, that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, not only did he have to park for 3 laps for the start of the race, he was also on what we have as a probation penalty system. So for our penalty system, usually, when you get your first at-fault incident, you get an EOL. When you put on probation for a race, for what Dustin Stallings had, his first incident that he caused, instead of an EOL, it bumps him up to level 2, which was a drive-through. So not only did he have to get 3 laps back and play it safe there, he really couldn't be extremely aggressive and, wreck someone on, not necessarily on purpose, but he couldn't be the cause of an incident, because it would have been a drive-through, and that's almost a death sentence also. That's another lap down at Dover.
Easily, if not 2. But, I mean, that's kind of what is needed with a field of 40 plus cars sometimes, and 30 plus, I guess, every week. It's the attrition, being there and just being consistent, trying to get your laps back, staying on the track as much as you can, and getting every position that you can that's going to benefit him in the long run. We'll get into the standings here shortly, but I'm sure that 16th place finish benefited him compared to what he would have been in 30th. It's that mentality for everyone, and I hope we don't have to get into a scenario at some point this season even, but even in the future, where we have to take away fast repairs in general. But if that is the scenario, then you're going to have to really be battling that attrition, and even if you are a couple laps down, of just hanging in there and getting those points where you can get them. because at that point it's going to be really important with how many people would be wrecking. But I don't want to gloss over. We haven't even gotten to Isaiah Sutherland winning his first race of the season. And I thought it was really interesting rewatching part of the broadcast that Isaiah's last win was his first win in BRB, and that was at Bristol, which is, I would consider it baby Dover. And I think a lot of people would, just because, it's a concrete track. It's similar. It's basically just double the size of Bristol. And Isaiah is very, very quick at Bristol from what we saw previously. But a big congrats to him. Again, I know he had that incident with Mason, and it looked like Mason wasn't too happy with him after the race. I don't know the full context of that. I do know the broadcast was saying, oh no, they're just being friendly banter and such. I felt like it was a different motive. Again,
I don't think they were confident in that either.
Yeah.
No.
It definitely seems some ill will towards Isaiah in that moment from Mason. But congratulations to Isaiah. Well-deserved win. He was fast all night. And
not only that, it was the day before his birthday as well. His
Yeah.
birthday was yesterday, so he got a win right before his birthday. That's just another little cherry on top to make his birthday celebration
For
just
sure.
just better.
Carl, when's your birthday?
October 25th.
Well, we missed that window.
Oh, I think we actually either had a race or a practice race on that, and I did bad. So my birthday is bad luck.
Okay.
But with Isaiah winning, not only let's with the amount of cautions we had, it was actually kind of crazy the tire strategy that was going on as well. So even Isaiah, I think he pit with 25, 30 laps to go under one of those cautions, and they were even commenting even more. Do you think it was like 40?
I think it was 57 based off my tracker.
Okay. Well, even then, a lot of people were saying, well, that's you want the track position because all the chaos is happening in the back. So he goes, pits, and says, okay, well, I'll deal with it. And he does. He goes through the race and eventually does end up winning. Mason spends a little bit more time up front, pits later on, gets in the back, and ends up a lap down. And that's kind of how Dover was, is you needed that track position. You really if you lost that track position, you had to be very, very careful trying to move up through the field. You had to be very conscious of all the cars around you. I think Mason got caught up in an incident and said over the chat, said, hey, I didn't know how the mid of the field races. And that just, I think, also exemplifies how amplifies even how much different it is racing in the top 10 versus that mid-pack. It is so much closer. It is so much more intense that if you're not ready for it, if you're used to being up front, then it gets a little more congested and you're not quite used to, oh, someone's on my outside or on my door, every lap. It's not, oh, someone's trying to pass me or I'm trying to pass them for a couple laps. It is every lap you're trying to battle it forward. And so that is kind of the tale of two strategies. So even Richard mentioned us limitless guys. We took 2 tires towards the end, and it vaulted us forward. Again, I do contribute that to how I got so forward and was able to stay there. I did take tires toward the end, and it didn't help necessarily, but I made it work enough to where I was able to recover some of that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the differing strategies there, because I think it was whenever Isaiah went in, I think the general consensus was, what is he doing? Like, that track position is going to be super important. Like, the gain he's going to get on those tires is not going to outweigh that move. Whether it was through attrition or not, some more people ended up coming in later down the line. I think the next caution came out, and I told Jared and Adam that we should probably pit too. Honestly, just get the fresher tires and just work our way back up eventually, because at that time we still had 50 or 60 laps to go. Like, there was plenty of time to get that back, not knowing we're going to go under caution every time until the end. But then on the other side of that, you had Mason. I think he pit with 20 to go, maybe.
So it's not a lot to go.
Which, based off what we had seen for the previous 50 laps up to that point, is there was a caution every couple of laps of why would you put yourself back into 20th, 25th spot? Yes, you have fresher tires, but a lot of these guys' tires in front of you have not been run enough under green flag conditions to really wear them. After 30 laps, I think we weared 4%. of our tires, like just because all the cautions we were going through. So the differing strategies was really interesting, and it was really interesting to see Isaiah's work out in the end. I was more so impressed that y'all's were able to hold on. Richard specifically, was it 70 lap run on 2 set of tires,
Yeah, 70 laps on just right side tires.
and then probably 100 on left sides.
Yeah, probably close to.
So I think I was a little surprised by that in the grand scheme of things. It was kind of nice how strategy ended up playing into it. I do wish we had a little bit more green, because then I think our strategy would have ended up working better, just because we had a little bit fresher and more to give. I think, Richard, you and I talked about this, of if you ended up having to go on a little bit longer of a run during that last stint to the end, you would have been in a little bit of trouble dropping back a little bit. It's stuff like that where I really wish we could clean up those cautions. I don't want strategy to have to be played because we get a caution every 3 laps. I want strategy to be played naturally. And I think that's what we're just hoping for on out.
And we'll get there. I mean, again, we had a massive influx of new drivers into the league. I mean, whether or not it was just they saw the league, wanted to join, or they actually watched season 2 and they're like, hey, we want to be a part of this. And, you know, whichever motive there was to come and join us, like, we want to still maintain what we had in season 2. It's just going to take time. I mean, it might be halfway through the season before we finally get to what we were in season 2. It might not even be until season, near the end of season 3, or even close to the start of season 4. I'm not saying that's what we want. We want it as soon as possible. But that is a lot of different drivers with different driving styles and different motives of why they're here, that we all have to learn how everyone's driving. And it's just, it took a lot of us, a few seasons to figure out how we all race around each other. So I have full faith that every single one of the drivers in this league can clean up everything. I mean, we've had a lot of positive feedback on the stuff that we've had in Discord today. So, and negative, we've had negative also, but I feel we can clean this up. We can have some fantastic racing the rest of this season, and every single one of these drivers are going to be interviewed by somebody. We're going to have people on this podcast talking about these races, being excited, and it's going to be a very exciting rest of season 3, I think.
It definitely will be exciting, and it's just like you said, it's going to take its time. And whenever you add 25 or so people to a group that's already existing and has been around, it's going to take time. So we appreciate those that are sticking through it and looking for the betterment of the league as a whole. We will get there. But I do want to get to our meatball of the week.
Yes.
There are some good options, I think, this week. And if I can pull it up correctly. Oh my goodness, I actually had it up.
Yay!
Wow. Carl, you had me on 2 meatballs?
Deal with it. This ain't gonna be your last one either, buddy.
You change it to this one, actually. There we go.
We're gonna have a talk, mister. We're gonna have a talk. I am Limitless Esports is currently looking for a new endurance driver.
Well, good thing I just entered
How
the world of
embarrassing would it
endurance.
be if I beat you at Petit Le Mans again?
But, Carl, I want you to start it off with your meatball of the week, and I would love to see you get Richard 3 for 3.
I was afraid of this. You mentioned there are so many options. I really didn't want to go first.
Do you want to think about it, Carl? Because I already have my choice.
I have mine
Yes,
too.
go ahead. I'll pass. Go ahead.
You know what? How about this, Steven?
Yeah.
You never get to go first.
Oh wow, jeez, thank you.
You get to go
own?
first, both on meatball and for the race pick. For
All
next week.
right, I like this.
Yeah,
This is nice.
I'm down.
We're gonna start doing this every week now. My meatball of the week just comes down to an incident I found hilarious. Watching it after. Zachary King, there was a wreck on the backstretch at some point. I don't remember what lap it was. I spitball in lap 15, 20, 30.
Oh, 16. Lap 16.
There you go.
Carl knows. Statistician knows.
Yep.
I just know about it because of Jared being in my ear the whole time during going on, and it's like, Zach King, hold your brakes. And then Zach King said he did hold his brakes, and then going back and watching it afterwards, he did hold his brakes. He locked it up, and then he's like, you know what? I'm going to let off the brakes and try to go straight again. And then he goes right up the track into the wall, and I forgot exactly who hit him first, but someone hit him in the wall. And then Patrick came in and rear-ended the guy that hit Zach, and it was just a nightmare that could have been avoided with just holding the brakes. So Zachary King is my meatball of the week, and that fits the team.
And it does fit the team. and I love this whole hold the brakes. It's something we stress about all the time. And everyone's like, I did hold the brakes. It's like, yeah, for the first half of you spinning, hold it till you stop. Wait till everyone goes by, then go. Like it's something you gotta learn. But oh man, mine's a hilarious situation also. Johnny Wood Jr. leading the race, and I watched the broadcast back. Johnny took a lot of the blame in the Discord during the race, but watching the broadcast, he got help, but still, he tried to pit, or he was faking out, or I don't know what his thought was, but I know Mason Hossman was like almost to the inside wall trying to fake out the pit. Johnny saw that at the last moment, decided to dive in to go with the pits with Mason, and Mason decided to fake him at the same time, came up, hit Johnny in the rear end, and spun Johnny backward into the pit entrance. So it was like, what did you do, Johnny? Like he's kind of laughing a little bit. He's like, whoops, my bad, in the Discord. But like at the same time, it was like when I watched the broadcast, he got hit. Mason hit him and spun him around. So nonetheless, you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes, and Johnny, you got the stupid prize of Meatball of the Week from me this week.
Oh goodness, that's pretty well deserved there, Johnny. And I think it's funny that when something bad happens to Johnny, he's just like, oh well.
It is, dude.
He's so chill about it, and I'm here. And let's throw that on strategy too, because there are some games being played trying to fake people out, and that is exactly why I don't try to play those games. Is because that can happen.
I did try to play a pit fake with God. I think it was Fritz. I think it was Fritz was behind me. And I cut up back onto the track at the last second, and he actually almost tagged the barrels because he came up over the radio, and he's like, "Whoa, that was close."
Well, you can only try and, try to be your heroes and the best racers out there, like Kyle Larson. We all know what happened to Kyle Larson those seasons or so ago with those barrels. So, the best imitate the best. So I'll give that to Johnny. But for my meatball of the week, man, there's so many. I'm gonna put Mason out there, just because you've been leading the race, you have the dominant car, and I watched the broadcast back over the last 2 days. He had a damaged car and was still battling for the lead. Why would you bother coming in for tires? Like, his whole front end was all crumpled up. Why would you come in for tires and you're still trying to lead this race? So I think Mason's going to get my meatball of the week just because of a really, I'm going to be nice and say odd pit strategy call.
It was odd.
It was very strange. Yeah, with the amount of even Isaiah though, Isaiah pit way beforehand, but the amount of cautions we were having, Isaiah made it work out somehow, but Mason he got stuck back there, and it was definitely a baffling call. He tried to do something to have fresher tires and everybody, but at the same time, we were talking about there were so many cautions, none of our tires were really destroyed. So odd call. He got bit in the butt for it, but it happens. We all make some interesting calls every now and then.
I think those two calls are different in the fact that one, Isaiah's happened with a lot of time to recover if it wasn't the right call, where Mason's happened where it was not recoverable from. So that's why it kind of looks like in the moment you look at those options and you're like, huh? But then it's sometimes in those scenarios, Isaiah looks like a genius and Mason looks like Mason. Like Mason.
Like Mason.
But no, it's tough to think of giving up the possible battle for the lead to go hang out with people in 20th. But
King. Sorry.
Whoa, that's 30th, buddy. Get it right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In all honesty, King has finished actually pretty well this year, season so far. So
he's been really impressive. Like I really have loved seeing his his internet fixed. He doesn't blink as much anymore. That's awesome. Great to finally see. The amount of work he put in to be able to join the league in the first place, and the fact that he's putting in the work to get better each and every week has been just awesome to see. He did get his win at Atlanta. Granted, it's Atlanta, it's a super speedway, but he still put himself in the right places at the right time. with the help of Gavin Rogers, which we all hate now. But no, he got his win before Carl Pooler, so he's got a little chip on his shoulder for that. But Carl's got one coming. Don't worry, buddy, you got it coming. So, but
When
no,
is it,
I
though?
think
We
I've
don't know.
saying that for 2-3 seasons now.
it'll be
Yeah, we've been on
October
that train for a
2025. That's
while.
what it'll be.
Oh, God bless.
Oh man.
But
It's gonna
no,
be a long
Zach really
time.
has improved quite a bit, and it's awesome. It's really great to see that from a driver.
Yes, if he can just learn to hold the brakes, we'll figure it all out.
Well, hey, he's figured out to listen when the stage breaks are, so we've got that under control.
One of the few.
Winter stages.
Gosh, that's my funniest, or like my fondest memory of the Bucket Cup series is that.
Every race, Zach. What are stages? It's like, oh my god, we only said it like 3 times
And it's
already.
only in the Discord, and it's only everywhere, and everything. But we can move on to the standings this week. So Adam posted the standings with the drop week. This is the standings without the drop week, just to give it some time to figure itself out. Just because with the drop week, after only 3 races, it's only going to take 2 of your races, and it can be a little skewed. So next week we'll start having the same standings all in all. But this is the standings without the drop race. So this is all 3 races included. But we'll just go through it real quick. So your new points leader is Isaiah. Matter of fact, actually, after Mason's 30th-ish place finish, and Isaiah ended up winning that race, takes the lead by 1 point, followed by myself in 3rd, Matthew Catania in 4th. And I don't know if that's actually the right way to pronounce it. Now that I've heard it more and more, Matt, please, if you ever end up hearing about this, please just let me know how to pronounce it, and I will promise I will learn how to pronounce your name, but I will not learn how to pronounce Dakota Bleh.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a staple at this point in the BRB Racing League. It is Dakota Bleh.
Yeah. So, but I do honestly feel bad if that's not how it's pronounced. Please let me know. Adam Bazeo in 5th, followed by Johnny Wood Jr. 6th. Gray Walker hanging around there in 7th. He's been running great. It was a guy that not a lot of us knew, if any. Excuse me, us 3, we did not know anything about headed into this. But it's been great to see him running consistently in the top 10. Richard, you find yourself in 8th now after 3 races. Pretty solid there. Zachary King, like I said, 9th. Yes, he did have that win that helps that out, but he's had 2 15th place finishes the past 2 weeks, so he's done his part to stay in that top 12 conversation. Followed by Brendan Maddox 10th, Evan Patinko 11th, and holding on to that transfer spot or chase spot is Dustin Stallings in 12th. So like what I was saying earlier with Dustin, that paid off for him to battle through that attrition from being 3 laps down to at least get a couple extra points, and now he's ahead of Jared by 4 points, and that makes all the difference in the world probably at the end of the season. Oh, I'm going to read off the rest real quick just to get everyone's name accounted for here.
Do you need a breather? Do you need someone else to go
Oh,
over the next?
please.
All right, I'll do the next 8 for you. Okay? You don't
Richard's
have to
all
talk
warmed
all
up
the
from his
time.
broadcast.
We'll do the
last
next 8,
night.
and then
He's
Carl
ready
will
to
do the
go.
last 20, since I think Carl's in that last 20. Oh, wait, sorry, he moved
No,
up to
I'm
this.
right there.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm in 19th, punk. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh man. Well, I mean, we still have a lot of drivers that are chasing for that final advancement spot to the chase. Jared Hughes in 13th, 84 points, only 4 behind Dustin Stallings. Matthew Selby, one of the dirt guys coming into the league, sitting there in 14th, and Scott Fritz, also one of the dirt guys. Those guys are doing pretty good for coming from dirt to the NASCAR side. Cody Dorsey behind them, Coulter Clark in 17th, Zachary Brandvold in 18th, one of the Accelerate Racers. There we go. Couldn't think of that team's
The
name.
X-Racers.
The X-Racers from Roblox. So, and then we got our very own Carl Pooler sitting in 19th, and Richard Smith rounding out the top 20.
All right, and we move on to 21st. We got Gavin Rogers, followed by Dakota Blay, 22nd. Zachary Maddox finds himself in 23rd, and Jamie Plord, sorry. I was going to say Jamie Pooler for some reason.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, what?
I was looking at Carl while saying the name. Either way, Jamie, I know he's had a tough start to the season. Probably not happy on his end. The end of end of
Dover. I
Dover
feel
was
so bad
brutal.
for Dover.
He had
because
a
he was
great
just
run.
there.
That
He
was the
just gets
first
involved in
time.
everything.
That was the first time I've heard Jamie like cue up his radio and just blurt out anger, and I was like, "Oh, someone made Jamie mad." That's
Yeah.
not very often that happens.
Yeah, Jamie is usually a very quiet and calm, collected person, but when he cues up on the radio, you know you've done a little something wrong. But again, it's probably not the start to the season that he's wanted, but he's right in the mix. All these guys at 20 to 30th, you're within striking distance easily.
I mean, look at those points from 21st down to 27th is a 6-point difference. Like,
it's not a big difference at all. Like this is like we said, from what did we say, 12th or 15th on back to 25th, 30th even. Like it is a knockdown, drag out, whatever fight kind of thing. It's really close battling between this group. Plenty of time to rebound from it. Dakota Camper, again, I think another one that's probably hasn't had the start to the season that he anticipated. We know he's better than 25th, I think, at the end of the day. So him being in 25th is probably not where he wants to be. Sam Dyer, 26th. Eric Jensen, 27th. And 28th, Josh Anderson. 29th, Matthew Erickson. And 30th is the other freaky fast driver of Robert Moyer Jr. Carl, take us to the end here.
So Cole Lewis there in the number. Who? Maybe it's not the 19 because I don't know what's going on.
Just say names and position, Carl.
You know what?
Jesus.
I'm trying to throw out, and it's a name association game I'm trying to play, but you know, here we are. Cole Lewis, he had also a tough going out there in Dover in 31st. Tony Patton, I don't think he showed up at Dover. I don't think I saw his name, but he was. Yeah, he's there in 36th.
Yeah, he told me he was not last night.
Oh, okay. Okay, so David Mayberry comes in 33rd. Jason Bottoms also had a really rough night. I think he had some connection issues, especially early on, sitting there in 34th. Braxton Skinner, another driver that Accelerate team in the 33 in 35th position with 38 points. Chance Durheim is also one of those unlucky drivers, has some struggling during qualifying and then just gets caught up in stuff and just can't get anywhere with that. Nicholas Renner in 37th, Cole Younger in 38th, Patrick Hernandez, mi amigo in 39th, and Sean Lester rounding out the top 40. So it's been a rough go for some of those drivers.
Cole Lewis comes in our chat to let you know that he is the 52 car, so put his name in your mind, Carl.
Why was I thinking 19?
Just for a quick thing, we do have two Coles, by the way, Cole Lewis, but we also have. Wait, was it Cole Lewis that said that?
Yes.
It was. No, but I think Yikes Piano, that's Gray Walker, I believe. And we also have
that's who I was thinking of. Sorry. I apologize, Cole Lewis. I am sorry.
But how many Zachs do we have in the league now?
Oh, like 4?
Just looking at this page. Wow, I only see one Zach in the bottom.
We have Zachary Maddox and Zachary King.
Maddox.
Yeah. Oh, then I know we have Zach Murdas from Broadcast.
Oh, goodness.
So that is 4.
And I think they're all spelled differently, or is that just my head?
They are.
I think so. I think so. I think, yeah. I don't even know anymore. Like.
Someone I do want to highlight real quick is Patrick Hernandez. I was doing some fun investigative digging into the statistics the other night. Into the night I was up at 2, 3 in the morning, whatever it was. And I was going over some incident counts. Patrick, unfortunately, still leads the incidents per mile and incidents per start. He has not had the start to the season that he has wanted. And we saw that, I think, last season. I don't know what it is going on with him, if it's maybe it just doesn't have time to practice or focus or whatever it is. But really tough to see him in 39th, I think. 2 seasons ago, we saw him battling for a chase spot. And battling even for top 5s and wins. So we know the potential's there, and to be down there in 39th, I know he's not happy. And I do, in that stat search I was on, I do want to just give myself a quick little tire pump here. And actually, you know what? I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to jinx anything.
Because Stephen Borbell and Richard Wolsifer ended the race at Dover, 176 laps complete with 0 incidents.
And not only that, but I lead the league in least incidents for drivers that have run all 3 races. Knock on wood.
Yes, Sam Dyer, you are doing better than Robert Moyer Jr. Yes.
Shocker.
Oh, we better let Robert know. He was definitely a very close second to my meatball of the week with his last whole lap oopsie.
Oh my
Launching
goodness.
himself and barrel rolling himself off of. I
Yeah.
think that was Jamie.
What?
I think he definitely leads the league in wildest wreck so far.
I did not know you could barrel roll after just hitting someone at Dover.
Robert discovered the trick, and we all have to get him to share that, apparently.
Yeah, it's something for sure. Let me switch over here. Changing gears. Next week we head to Kansas.
Not to neutral. Make sure you get to third.
Yeah.
Yes,
That must have been an issue, a
that's the
limitless
trick.
issue. It must have been a Chevy issue.
Dude, I don't know what it was. I didn't get stuck in neutral. My car literally wouldn't shift past third. Like I was gripping the paddle. I'm like, come on, let's go. Get me third,
Man,
fourth
it's
gear.
those Chevy transmissions.
You know, I'm gonna get the synchronizer swapped out and make sure the actuator's ready to go. The valve body is cleaned out. Trust me, we will not have this problem in Kansas.
You know what, Carl? You can do all that work. I'm contacting Chevy and telling them to fix my shit.
You know what? I can't trust them worth a damn. I'm gonna do my own stuff.
But changing gears and not into neutral. Next week we are headed to Kansas. What date is that? My calendar is not updated. I believe it's the 10th, if I remember all things correctly.
Yes, it is.
We are headed to Kansas for the BRB Racing League Race Control Appreciation 250. It's brought to you by RevSimShop.com. Kansas, mile and a half. Cookie cutter-esque racing, traditional NASCAR racing. Let's just think of that. We touched on earlier, hopefully that we're going to see more of the incidents clear themselves up. You do get spread out a little bit more. I'm getting distracted here. And hopefully we just get spread out more and have those longer runs. I know Kansas is very temperature dependent on the kind of race that it produces, at least in sim. If it's a colder side, if track temps are in the 70s to 80s, it gets very, very, very tight. And on the other end of that, if it's in the 90s to 100s, it can get pretty loose. Richard's looking at me like I'm crazy, but
Didn't feel loose during practice, and it was 105 degrees on track.
good to know. I have not practiced the track since last season.
I did 25 laps real quick just to kind of throw some down, so I had less to worry about over the next couple of days. But yeah, it was 105 degrees on the track, and actually was a little on the tighter side versus loose.
Gotcha. Well, so beware of that right front, I guess, if it's getting tight at the end of the day.
Well, isn't Kansas a progressive banking track? So if you
Kentucky
continually, is it? You know, I always get those
would think
confused. I
Kansas
actually
is
think
too, no?
Rich is.
Oh, you know what? Kansas might be.
It's not as to the extreme of Kentucky, but I think it's more. It's flatter towards the inside, but I think that's going to also contribute to what we're going to see. Yeah, that's going to contribute to what we're going to see. I think we are going to see, at least early on, some 3, maybe even 4 wide racing, because that's what this track can produce. Those guys against the wall who love to run that Larson line are going to do really well. I think as the car tightens up, you're going to want to go to that outside line and maybe use that momentum. So it's going to be a test of the drivers and see how well they can adapt over the as the tires wear. If we get those green flag stops, I would be very interested in see how these dirt drivers handle that change. This kind of Richard, again, your name comes to mind as well, being able to handle that kind of change, being able to move around the track, find that grip, and be able to maneuver yourself around getting that fastest time and maybe ending up with some stage points.
I'm hoping. I mean, I'm a lot more happy that we're at a larger track now. I'm kind of ready for the break from these short tracks, even though Bristol's shortly after.
And I wouldn't even say we've gone to a short track yet.
No, we haven't. Technically, we haven't. I mean, I do consider just the way that the 1 miles race, it just feels more short tracky.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I know they're not an actual short track, but It's going to be nice to be able to get to the intermediate track where we are going to be able to spread out. And, you know, Kansas also is bringing us to our first race of the BRB bonus brawl as well.
That's a great point. You want to give everyone a reminder on that of decals as well?
Yeah, decals will be out before.
Yeah, Richard, what the hell, man?
Sorry, I had them almost done, and then my computer crashed on me, and like it slipped my mind because I've been too pissed off at my computer. But so the BRB bonus brawl sponsored by Maddox Graphics. Thank you, Maddox Graphics, for donating money to the sponsorship of the bonus brawl. That will add to the winner's purse for the bonus brawl. So it is a 3-race in-season championship. The points are very simplified. Only the top 10 of the drivers will receive points, 10 down to 1. If you finish outside of the top 10 of those drivers, not necessarily the top 10 of the race, the top 10 of the drivers that have signed up, then you don't get points. The person with the most points at the end of the 3 races wins the entire purse of the bonus brawl. So it's just kind of like think the Xfinity's Dash for Cash that they have, where a couple drivers are picked during the race and the winner gets money. Sort of like that, but more of an in-season championship. So it's something that kind of brought some more entertainment, a little more racing during the middle parts of the season. So, but that will be next Tuesday. The decals will be required when I get them done. Please put them on your car. It makes points so much easier for me. It also gives Maddox Graphics their sponsorship that they want. So please put your bonus brawl sticker decals
that they
on.
want, that they deserve.
Sorry, they deserve. You're correct. And it also helps with the broadcast for them to, you know, let the viewers know who's in the bonus brawl.
Very well, very well. And what are those 3 races again?
Those 3 races are Kansas, Pocono, and IRP. If there is a tiebreaker at IRP, if we have a tie at IRP, the next race, which I believe is Michigan to finish this regular season, will be a sudden death. Whoever is the highest finisher of those, whoever's tied, will win.
Gotcha. Very simple, very easy. And if you have not signed up, do we still have a chance to sign up?
I think they closed, but we will allow signups until Monday night at midnight Eastern. So you have until basically after the practice race to sign up. After that, we will not be accepting any more signups. I think technically the signups were supposed to be closed, but I will go ahead and continue to allow people to sign up if they do feel. It is only $5 to enter. That's it. So $5 extra. Those $5 go into the pot. All the money that is put into the BRB bonus brawl is straight to the winner at the end of the 3 races.
And that's what's the pot we're looking at right now? Around 150-ish?
No, I thought we were almost 200 because
I
Maddox Graphics.
I think we're around 200.
I wanted to be a little conservative on the estimation, but
yeah, I think we're at like 200, if not even a little more.
And again, I think you hit on it, but Maddox Graphics, them being so involved in the league, whether just the Maddox brothers, Brendan and Zachary, whether they're giving us something to talk about for the meatball or something to talk about with Zachary. You know, I knew he was a guest earlier. These guys are kind of a bunch of fun, and I know they're watching, so it's good to see them so involved and appreciate everything they do contribute to the league.
Very so indeed. And on that topic, 2 little quick things, housekeeping items. Next week on the podcast, we will have the reveal of, for those that don't know, we had a little Secret Santa esque paint situation of drivers that signed up, were randomly generated and randomly given another driver that signed up to create them a special Christmas paint. That will end up being driven at Bristol for our Christmas race on December 17th. And next week on the podcast, we're going to be unveiling who had who and what their paint preview looks like, just to get into the holiday spirit of things. And with that, I got to that because of the banner situation. There's also a special banner that Adam created. It's in, I believe, the Secret Santa paint. I think we should share it out to the general public for whoever wants to use that during the Christmas race. We'll get it into the required decals. It's not required, but it's a Christmas themed butt kicker banner that will go on top of your car if you want for that race. And on that note, as well as the, what am I blanking? Powder Puff podcast and Powder Puff race. Bang.
The Powder Puff takeover.
The Powder Puff whole BRB takeover. I guess you can call it a second annual situation, but we want to do it more than just annually. Second season of it, I guess, is more accurate.
Second seasonal race.
Yeah, second seasonal Powder Puff takeover podcast and race will be occurring on January 30th will be the podcast, and then the race will be on January 31st, both being at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Signups are available in the announcements section. You're gonna have to scroll up a little bit, but if your wife, your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your mother-in-law, whoever it is, a woman in your life that's important to you that wants to race, wants to get on the steering wheel and try their hand at iRacing, no charge, sign them up, get all the women in our life out here. It's going to be a street stock race at Charlotte. Laps are to be determined and all that to be determined, but the plan is to have it internally broadcasted by us and with the help potentially of Rev even, is our plan, and we'll see how that goes. But it's a great time to get the women involved and see them out on track.
Eric, the best way to get your wife convinced to do it is tell her that there are other wives in the Discord that communicate with each other quite often, actually, and that might help her get interested in joining these women and racing alongside them and just having a good time with the race.
Yes, it truly is a great time. It's even funnier when they don't know anything about NASCAR or anything about racing, and they're just going along with it, don't know the rules, don't know what flags mean, and just having fun. It really is a great time to just watch. And then in addition to that, our wives will be hosting, I believe, Carla, is that confirmed that Ashley will be able to join us in the podcast?
We are going to do our best.
Okay.
So if everyone doesn't know, we are expecting a baby, and we are on baby watch. We've been on baby watch for almost 2 weeks now. So any moment now, we are ready to welcome a new member of the BRB Racing family. We are hoping that with everything, I'm also going to be able to continue doing my BRB duties, the podcast, and we're going to make time to get her to do the podcast and the race during that time. So that is the goal.
All right. So that is the plan as of right now. Things might change just minorly here and there as we get closer to the date. But Carl, myself, and Richard's wives will be taking over the podcast. This time, I'm planning not even to be there. I'm going to sit her in this. I am going to hit start on recording or start on streaming, and I am going to leave and go watch TikTok for an hour or two. That's my plan. But please be sure to tune into that podcast on the 30th of January. Our wives will be there hosting things, and I don't want to say they don't talk about racing, but they talk about anything. Anything is on the table.
It's very true.
So
as long as someone can keep my wife under wraps and tell her that it's a PG podcast.
Yeah.
We need to put all three of them up there, and then Rev is a mediator.
Honestly,
Rev is in control of all that.
I kind of like that idea. If Rev can get behind that, I'd love that, for someone to at least steer the conversation in a consistent area.
Oh, Johnny, that is... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's great. That's...
Carl's first winner, GTA 6 first.
Oh, GTA 6 definitely coming out first. There's way more money behind that.
Gavin, I'm assuming you're asking about the Powder Puff takeover. That will be January 30th.
Yes, January 30th. That post is also in announcements. And like I said, the signups for that are also in announcements. So feel free to complete that Google form very quick. It just asks who the woman is participating, who they are representing, and their relationship to the driver in the BRB Racing League. But yeah, plenty of time to sign up for that. I forgot what I put the deadline at for that, but we're still a little bit away from it. So got plenty of time to sign up for the Powder Puff race, and yeah, we can go back into Kansas talk. I think I've covered any of those housekeeping deeds, and I'm gonna put on our big screen.
Wait, do we have questions for tonight, or are we?
I do not have questions,
Okay,
unfortunately,
so-
this evening.
All right.
I wish I did have questions, but things have been a little hectic, is all I'm going to say to that.
You're not the only one. So
yeah.
Rev is usually where we get the questions from, and he's dealing with his own issues that we hope gets resolved, because Rev is invaluable to this team. He is just
Obviously.
he's so awesome at what he does, and we appreciate everything he does. So him not being able to be there for the races and do the things that he does in the background is it's unfortunate. We definitely miss it. We hope he gets that squared away and joins us again soon.
Indeed so. And Isaiah saying, when Carl wins, I'll celebrate for him. I honestly think whenever Carl does get that win, we let Carl do some donuts on his own, and then everyone that's still on the track go do donuts with him.
That would be great.
I think that's the very least we can do.
Here's what will happen. Okay, Carl will win. If I'm still in the race, I will pull up just outside pit entrance and block everybody. And as soon as Carl's done, we'll just go barrel into his car doing donuts.
It's the people's win, all right. It's what everyone gets to celebrate.
And yes, Eric, I'm sorry, no questions tonight. Yeah, it's tough, but I do believe you are leading the current standings. I believe it's you and Brendan Maddox that are neck and neck, without looking at my score sheet. But we will resume that next week for sure.
Eric, I honestly think this is a good thing, because I recommended we put rules from the rulebook, ask questions from the rulebook.
Yeah, no.
So this may be a good thing for everyone.
Apparently, people didn't listen to the reading the rule book. That was their homework during the Thanksgiving break. Maybe during Christmas break we can ask the same thing and it won't be done. But either way,
2 weeks.
let's go back to Kansas. And we have our winner screen. So we were all incorrect last week. Unfortunately, and Richard still is the only one with a win, which honestly can be hard
Mason
to
led
do.
the most laps.
That's
I will
not a
say
win.
that. I will say that.
That's not a win.
Only W's up in here, Carl.
Yeah.
Oh,
still lacking
boo.
Oh man. And okay, I'll kick us off, I guess, since that's what you said earlier, Richard.
Yep.
Putting me on the spot. I really haven't even thought about it. I still haven't fully mentally changed gears to Kansas. Stuck in neutral here.
You're always a step behind. I'm ready for
I know, I've already got my
iRacing.
pick.
Oh,
I'm
goodness.
thinking Daytona 2024 for
Well-
iRacing. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I wish. Oh, I'm trying to find my cursor. Here it is. I am going to go with Adam Buzzio.
Ooh.
And I'm going with Adam just based off of his track history. I mean, easily could have gone Johnny Wood Jr. here, I think. We know Johnny is great at 1.5 mile tracks. But I'm going Adam just because of how great he ran last season at Kentucky. Similar shape track. Yes, the banking's different. A more comparable track, I think, is Chicagoland, where he did end up getting that win. So there's some similarities there is all I'm going to say. But yeah, Adam gets his first win of the season. Richard,
Carl, do you want to go?
No.
Or me? I'll go. Okay. I'm go good old teammate Johnny Wood Jr. on this one. He's shown speed last season with how well he does in these 1.5 mile tracks. It's almost a class of its own at times. So I think Johnny, he's about to get to his bread and butter, I guess you can say, when it comes to racing here in the BRB. So I think Johnny can get it done at Kansas.
Okay, great pick.
Ooh, you know what? I actually think this pick is easy for me. I'm going to go with Dustin Stallings. He has a knack for the 1.5 miles. He also has a knack for the kind of flat tracks, or the tracks where you kind of have to search for grip. So I think Dustin may have an edge here at Kansas next week. He's going to be a contender. He doesn't have to deal with the penalty. So I know he's a good qualifier. He's definitely going to be someone to deal with throughout the race next week.
All right, so there you have it. Dustin Stallings, Adam Buzzio, and Johnny Wood Jr. are our picks for next week at Kansas, and hopefully someone can tie Richard here. I don't know. I'm a little worried about Richard getting his second out of 4 right. That'd be some sort of a feat. Oh, boy.
I'll go for the 500 there.
Yeah. But do want to give a quick shout out again to our sponsors. Obviously, Butt Kicker, the leader in haptics, Sundance Pizza. If you ever go into Phoenix or the Wickenburg area, make a drive out to Sundance Pizza and give them a try. Ideal Lease, Ascendance Trucks, RevSimShop.com, and obviously Advanced GG. And again, that promo code for Advanced GG is WolfXLive10 for 10% off your order, and all of those proceeds go directly into the league. And want to give a quick shout out to obviously Maddox Graphics. If you need a paint completed for iRacing or anything similar, reach out to Maddox Graphics and get a paint created. And drivers in the league get a discount for using Maddox Graphics. So if you need a special Christmas scheme maybe made, or even a throwback scheme, I know we have a race later this season, give them a shout out and they can work with you there. But I think that covers Butt Kicker Cup Series. Yeah.
Does it? I think so.
I think we've really covered most of everything there. Do y'all have some actual motorsports news?
Ooh, how far do you want us to go?
Sports car.
Go ahead. I will be right back.
Hyundai just announced they're going to be joining the World Endurance Championship in 2026 with their hypercar. And alongside that, they will be joining IMSA in 2027 with a 2-car field. So somebody made Hyundai mad because their hypercar looks pretty mean.
Well, I think when you ask and you start asking, hey, what do you think of a sports car? What do you think of a performance car? One of the last manufacturers you think is Hyundai. I mean, let's focus on Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. One of the lines is, "What do you think? I'm going to let you drive in a Hyundai?" Like right there is a diss in itself in a movie. Like, so you don't expect Hyundai to come out, but believe it or not, Hyundai behind the scenes has been doing really well. They have the Veloster in, I think, at least a couple of years ago in the World's Rallycross. They had the Elantra in the TCR. I think they had a car in the GT4 a couple of years ago, and they did decent. It's interesting that Hyundai would go from, we're going to go in these lower tiers of racing, and then, by the way, we're jumping into GTP. We're going to jump into hypercar with hybrid systems and everything else. Now, they do have hybrid. They are experienced in hybrid and electric vehicles, but I think that jump, for me especially, surprises me and says, hey, Hyundai isn't messing around. I think this has been something in play for a couple of years, and they're here to seriously put down a championship run.
Yeah, they are, and it's honestly, I mean, they've been kind of teasing it for the past couple of years at a lot of these endurance sports car racing with their prototype that they're showing, but they finally, I guess, pulled the trigger and straight into hypercar. But the crazy thing is the amount of manufacturers that are now in that GTP/hypercar field. I mean, you have Acura there, you have Cadillac, you have BMW, Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Toyota. Hyundai is now going to be joining.
Aston Martin
is now joining this year, also in their V12 Valkyrie car that they just announced. So that's 9 manufacturers in the hypercar GTP class. That is wild to see. And honestly, this isn't rumors. This isn't anything happening. But I honestly think, with the amount of attention and growth that these hypercars and GTP class is getting, it is just a matter of time before I think Ford re-enters the hypercar class and might be the return of the first manufacturer that won the 24-hour Le Mans, the only U.S. manufacturer to win the 24-hour Le Mans. So it'll be wild if Ford actually does join the GTP class. It's not a rumor or anything. It's a rumor that I'm starting because I just think it's a matter of time before they do it.
Well, let's everything's focused on the manufacturers. Let's also rewind to this GTP class is not only attracting manufacturers, it's attracting drivers. Nick DeVries has, I think he ran with the Toyota Gazoo Racing, and did quite well for himself. He's a former F1 racer. Kevin Magnussen, he's leaving Haas, but he's signing on with BMW Motorsports in the GTP for the WEC. That was announced today as well. So these cars are attracting more teams. Jenson Button, a Formula F1 world champion, is also running in some of these series. So not only is it attracting manufacturers, it's attracting drivers. It's attracting people of all kind of walks and worldly people attracted to this one series. And I think it's really interesting to see how everyone's being flocking to this series. And it's crazy because you hear this in GT3, you know, everyone wants a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, you know, off the factory, those manufacturers. But now I'm like, I want a prototype Valkyrie from Aston Martin. I want a prototype Cadillac. That's kind of what I want to go off of. And it's crazy how this is really turning into one of those situations where you have the manufacturers involved, the drivers involved, the sponsors are involved. It is an exciting time to be a sports car fan right now.
It really is, and I'm excited for the Rolex 24 in January that I'll be going to. So that's to be able to watch all these new, well, really only one new GTP currently, but yeah, the field of GTP class is just growing and growing. Sports cars, I think, is just, if you guys haven't watched endurance racing or sports car racing, I highly recommend it. I know Steven, we've been trying to get him to do it, and he's actually dipping his toes into maybe his first attempt here with the 6-hour charity race that he might be doing with Jared.
Oh, hold up.
No, you're doing it,
I have
Steven.
competed in the 24-hour before.
Have you?
Yes.
I did not know this.
I have. I just don't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
It was with the drivers that are no longer in this league. I had known them from a different place, and they were not up to par.
Well, let's change that around, buddy. Let's give you a good experience, because I was always on the fence about sports car, you know, whatever. And then I dipped my toes into it in iRacing. It's funny because I got more interested in iRacing before IRL. And the moment I did that, I was sucked in. It was over. And I absolutely love all these endurance races.
They're definitely fun to do, and they're a completely different, like, skill set, one, and just like entertainment factor. A whole lot more strategy and playing the long game element to it, which is really interesting. Watching it will still probably be a little bit for me to convince my wife to have the TV, full control of the TV for 24 hours in some scenarios might be a little bit different. I don't like watching things on my phone. I really don't. But we'll see. I promise I will become more well versed in it within the coming year. That's my New Year's resolution.
Well, 2026, Carl is hoping to save and plan for a trip out here for the Rolex. So I'm just saying, a BRB meetup at the Rolex 24 in 2026 could potentially be a good thing.
I can guarantee if Carl is there, I will be there.
Ooh.
Personally guarantee that. My wife,
No
on
pressure.
the other hand, I don't know if she'll be there.
No. If I'm coming, Ashley's coming, so Addison's got to come too.
My wife will come also.
All right.
And they all can go have a nice chilly beach day.
They can go to Universal with.
You go. They can go to
everyone.
Harry Potter World.
Exactly.
All right. That's something for them to talk about. I'm not going to figure that out. That's not my problem.
Jared, the Rolex 24 is usually that last weekend of January. Because it's usually falls lately on like the 26th, 25th, 27th, stuff like that. So that's the IRL. Now, the iRacing 24 is usually a week ahead of that. Starts, I think the first split starts Friday late at night, and the last split is Saturday night, something. That's when that starts. So that's when the schedule of the 24 usually is for both IRL and iRacing.
Now, as far as signing up for the 24-hour, or I guess any endurance race for that matter, within iRacing, do you pick your time slot, or are you given a time slot?
No, you get a pick.
Okay.
So there's usually pretty standard start times for each split, for each cycle of it. And I want to say it's like 10 at, or I should say Mountain Time, 10 at night on Friday, 3 a.m. on Saturday, 6 a.m. on Saturday, noon on Saturday, and then I think maybe the noon Saturday is the last split. Now that I think about it. Mountain.
I think Saturday. I think like 6 p.m. is the last.
Oh, is there
split.
another late one?
Yeah, I think there's a late Saturday split that you could. It actually might be 10 p.m. Eastern on Saturday because I believe. I don't know. I know it's a later split on Saturday.
But yeah, you can try and pick whatever helps your team out the most.
Gotcha. Good to know.
But
You
yeah,
don't have anything else on real racing, real life?
I did see something interesting. For the NASCAR game coming out by iRacing, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports cars will not be in the game.
I did hear talks of that. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of a
And
kind of a shot to them, I guess.
I guess that ties into part of the
lawsuit.
They don't have the rights to put them in the game because NASCAR has the rights and the intellectual property of the
charters.
Correct, of the charters. So that doesn't mean they won't necessarily be in it yet, I guess.
Right.
Just because they could work out a deal with those teams individually if they wanted to. But I guess it ties into the whole situation coming up this past week of NASCAR denying the charter transfers from Stuart Haas to 2311 in Front Row.
They denied them?
Correct. So as
Always surprised though.
Yeah, they can't give them the charters because they didn't sign a charter agreement. So then it's like it doesn't make sense, obviously. So as of right now, NASCAR is working with for next season 30 chartered teams and 10 open entry slots for the races.
Ouch.
Yeah, which is not what we want to see necessarily. God forbid we get 30 cars only in a race, but. There still is some injunction hearings supposed to be occurring soon to potentially allow those teams to race as chartered teams. We'll be figuring that out probably during Christmas break while we're off, and we might have more news starting off the new year next year for that and get actually solidified answers for what 2025 NASCAR will actually look like. Jared brings up a good one of Gabe Hart. Out as crew chief for Denny Hamlin. I say that and it sounds like it has a negative connotation, but he was promoted to what is it? What's the official title?
Oh, isn't it like some director of race operations or competition, something like
it's
that?
It's like a Chad Knaus level with Hendrick. So he's essentially the crew chief's boss, I think is a good way to put it. And Ty Gibbs' crew chief, I don't remember his name, slots into Denny Hamlin's crew chief spot, and they don't have a replacement for Ty Gibbs' crew chief. And I found it interesting that Hamlin mentioned that he was called into a meeting at JGR at 6 p.m. one evening or something like that, and he knew it wasn't a good thing, and that's when they told him that Gabe Hart will not be crew chiefing for him next season. And it kind of just came out of nowhere for him, and obviously a little shocked. And say what you want about Hamlin. Hamlin does not have a lot of fans. But Chris Gabehart was arguably one of the top 5 crew chiefs, I think.
Integral part of that whole operation.
Yeah. He had great strategy calls, just similar to Paul Wolf. I'm blanking right now.
Brad Keselowski.
Was he with Joey Logano too?
Yeah. Well, is he Joe Logano now?
I
think Paul Wolf was with Brad Kay and then moved to Joe Logano.
Correct. Yeah. In that same vein, a very integral part of the strategy element in getting the cars set up to where they need to be. And now Hamlin goes with a crew chief that he has no relation with, no history with. Are we seeing the championship window for Hamlin close?
Oh, it's been closed.
I think it's been closed for a minute. I think he's starting to not. And honestly, I'm shocked they haven't done something about his pit crew way earlier because it's always been his pit crew that has basically messed up his chances.
Well, that's JGR. You wrap JGR in a nutshell, and that's pit issues is the number one concern.
And engines at a certain time.
At
So
the
I
most
don't think
inconvenient
it's
times.
completely out of the possibility of him getting a championship, but I mean it's getting dimmer and dimmer, I guess you could say. It's slowly starting to fade for his chance.
Well, let's not gloss over the fact that he went from a crew chief of Toyota to a higher position in Chevrolet. Now, because you said Hendrick, right?
No. Gabehart is with JGR. He's the director of competition director, whatever it is, with JGR.
Oh, okay.
No, I was
You
just
said
drawing
Hendrick
I was
somewhere.
drawing a comparison to the same position that Chad Knaus has with
Gotcha.
Hendrick.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess there's that, but it makes me wonder if Chris may want to try and possibly move more influence on Toyota. Say, hey, let's try this. Because I know in Toyota, especially their engine department, there's very little they do. There's almost nothing they can do. They have to get the engines from the Toyota. They have to make sure they're sealed. They put them in the cars. They take them out, ship them to Toyota. I wonder if there's a little more open access that he's asking for. Maybe some help he can give these other crew chiefs. Chris Gabehart has been in the game for so long. He's had so much success. Yes, it's unfortunate for Denny Hamlin that he's losing a crucial part of his team, but at the same time, this is good for Chris Gabehart. I think this is good for Toyota. I think this is good for the overall sport because you have someone that's been on the ground floor, but now is going to take that experience, all that knowledge and information, and move it up a tier. I think that's nothing but good for JGR and Toyota.
Yes, but where it might not be good is Denny Hamlin, unfortunately, and he's not getting any younger. And I know some people want to see him get that championship. Probably most don't.
One of three of us here do.
I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to see his dad smoke that cigar that Michael Jordan gave to him.
For real, like,
Yeah.
isn't that kind of one of those like emotional moments? Like, oh, come on, just let it happen.
I just pulled up a random article, and now there's rumors of JGR trying to force him to retire after this season.
What? That's a wild rumor.
Yeah, I
No, wait a minute,
don't take
wait a
anything
minute.
from that.
Let's put on the tinfoil hats here and say you can't tell me they didn't do the same thing to Martin Truex, where they signed him over just because Furniture Row was disbanding and say, hey, you're kind of in the public's thought right now, come over to us. But let's look at the first, I mean, really, since he came over from Furniture Row, some of the worst pit calls, some of the worst pit strategies, some of the worst pit stops. Again, pit stops for JGR. You can't tell me that Martin Truex might not have been only the third or fourth driver in that whole lineup. So maybe they're not asking him to retire, but Joe Gibbs would be like, oh, let's give him the C team or the D team, and he can do whatever he wants because I'm going to focus on Ty and Christopher Bell right now because they're my rising stars.
Yeah, and then I guess you could put another tinfoil hat on and talk about Corey Heim potentially with his future with Toyota, and they need to open up a spot eventually as they go down. But I do think that that's pure tinfoil hatness, pure conspiracy. Yes, he lost FedEx, but it's still Denny Hamlin. He will find sponsors with who he is and his longevity and his brand recognition. So, I don't know. Just some minor news. I started seeing some of RFK's paint schemes reveals. There is a Castrol paint scheme, somewhat throwback-y looking. Not to the same extent of last season's Darlington for Keselowski, but
it wouldn't be like that.
it's not a Castrol Edge like their black cars. It is a white and green Castrol car, and Ryan Preece will also be driving it. And the BuildSubmarines.com car, they all three have the sponsorships. So I don't know how frequently. I know the big deal was them getting Kroger, RFK that was. I don't know if one car will be driving it each week or what their deal is going to be looking like, but it does look like Ryan Preece is not like exclusively a Kroger driver or anything like that. They're all going to be sharing the same sponsors, which is a big trend right now in the world of NASCAR and NASCAR teams of drivers. I think the only one I can really think of where they don't share sponsors is Hendrick. First,
Yeah,
and
it's-
Penske, but Penske does. But it feels like all other teams are moving to similar-esque schemes, like an F1 style. There's sponsors that sponsor the whole team, and drivers run similar schemes, maybe just slightly different, which I find a little bit of an interesting shift in NASCAR from where we used to be.
I'm gonna kind of what is it? What's that? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna try to associate with the Accelerate Kids in the Discord right now. This Castrol scheme that they have is slaps. Did I use that right?
Oh, your age is showing. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm not part of the Accelerate team, but I think I'm pretty hip with the younger generation.
With the younger generation. Obviously, it's all love. You know, we're just giving you guys some jokes and whatnot. So we love having you guys here. But no, that Castrol scheme is pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's still weird they're doing it on Mustangs and not Toyota Supras like in the Xfinity series. That really bothers me.
it's not the point.
Just the cadence was off.
I think he missed the statement earlier. But I really don't have much more NASCAR news. It's slow part. It's
Yeah,
off
it's
season
still
time.
season.
Oh, we didn't talk about Riley Herbst, did we?
What about him?
Riley Herbst.
He's coming through the Cup Series.
Yeah,
in
he's
a
driving
monster-
for 2311.
Yeah.
Riley
Yeah.
Herbst.
Oh, wait, how?
2023. How?
Oh, it's just they're gonna enter
They're
him
an
in
open team.
slot?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
As of right now, he's just an open slot with Monster Energy being a third car sponsor. For Monster.
Jared,
That's why I
just-
think we did talk about it.
Real quick,
Yeah.
Jared, I'm older than Adam, just so you know.
And Jared, Adam, Richard, and I have maybe like 3 or 4 years between the three of us. So thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Y'all are old.
So yeah, that's gonna be cool. I mean, I feel bad for the spotters of every other team.
Yeah.
The monster cars outside of you.
Which one? Yeah, I really want them to do something with those monster paint schemes. I feel
They
like
need to
Monster
do
has such
different
great
flavors.
potential. That could be beneficial.
Exactly,
Dude,
Richard.
Imagine a white monster car.
That would be
That'd
sick.
be awesome.
I think that would be really
amazing.
sick. Having the can, the design that's on the can, like on the car itself, also that would be amazing to see on track.
Yeah, it really would be good. I mean, I know Reddick, when he runs Monster, he only runs the Monster Beast, which I guess is technically a different brand. Maybe one
I
of
think
them
it's the
run Monster
adult
Hydration.
beverage, isn't it?
It is, and they taste just like the regular Monsters, but without the caffeine.
That's terrible.
No, they're really good. They're really,
That's
really
what I'm
good.
saying. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, I highly recommend them to anyone that hasn't tried them. There is no caffeine in them, so don't worry about that. But
That's a problem, but
I don't know. They need to do something interesting there. I think another thing I saw recently of Tony Brendinger, is that her name? Is that
Breidinger.
Breidinger. The Raising Cane's driver has officially signed a deal with Tricon to race full-time in trucks next season. Will be interesting to see her in a full ride and a good ride at that in the truck series.
Well, not only that, but she started by trying to get money from Victoria's Secret. She was the one who got a lot of backlash for having Victoria's Secret as a primary sponsor for a couple of races. And here she is,
here she are.
here she is, being able to get a pretty decent ride in the truck series. So, say what it is, but again, it goes to show that money talks, and she brought in the right amount of money. Now she's moving up. So I do think she has the skill and the ability to give those truck boys a run for their money. So I hope it's not another Haley Deegan situation. I hope she has a little more success, but I'm really excited for this situation.
I think Haley Deegan just got the short end of the stick, to be honest. I think she had the skill to do good. She was just kind of used for publicity and then just thrown on the back burner everywhere she raced. I think that was her problem. Not her problem, but that was the problem with her succeeding.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why she basically left NASCAR. Not only that, but like the potential SH situation that she was potentially dealing with. But she's moving on to IndyCar, so I think she's going to be racing in Indy next in 2025. So I hope she finds success there. Does the reverse Danica Patrick?
That would be awesome.
But at the same time, I hope Tony Breidinger does a fantastic job in NASCAR, because I mean, it's just it's great to see more women taking a bigger step into these more higher tier racing. So they both have done fantastic where they were racing, and it's just, I think Tony Breidinger is having a better chance than Haley Deegan, and I honestly wish Deegan would come back into NASCAR and have a better team. I think she's got the skill to do it.
Thing is, Breidinger has the sponsor and financial support that she's really needed. She has some very high profile sponsors, like Carl, you said, Victoria's Secret. I know Raising Cane's, which is making their first really foray into NASCAR. They did a couple races in ARCA, and they're a really big brand in the South, I guess, regionally. But it's a big name, in my opinion, to see, and it's a consumer brand. I think is really important to have in NASCAR is consumer-related brands and not just business-to-business selling. Have brands that people can relate with. Have drivers that people can relate with, and I think she might fit that mold. Let's just hope she's a good driver too in the Truck Series.
And I also think that Toyota has done a fantastic job promoting her. Toyota has done a great job in the racing scene in general, promoting all of their drivers that they want to promote. So I think Toyota has had a big hand in stepping Tony Breidinger up where she is now. So I know Haley Deegan really didn't have that kind of backing with Ford or whoever she was racing with, but props to Toyota. As much as I still think it should be American manufacturers, but I mean, I don't mind seeing Toyota anymore in NASCAR.
Toyota Tundras are made in Texas.
I know, but it's still
a lot of Toyotas are made in Texas.
Yep.
Still a Japanese brand.
But they're as American made as Ford and Chevy.
I know.
A lot of high-end.
Toyota has done a fantastic job with promoting their drivers and has done great with moving Tony Breidinger in the position she's in now.
Very, very well said. Well, I don't have anything else, and even after my digging,
Are you
I
sure?
really couldn't find anything else. I tried. I really tried to find something. But
I think we've exhausted what we got going on. If you're into F1, the last race of the season is this weekend at Abu Dhabi. The Constructors' Championship is firing up. It's really between McLaren and Ferrari. It could be very interesting to see how it goes. But other than that, the race season is in the off season for just about everyone else.
It is indeed, and it's only for another just over a month. Oh, sorry.
Oh, 2 months to NASCAR, 1 month until like sports car picks back
up. 2 months from this weekend, I believe, is the Clash at Bowman Gray.
Also, real quick, Rev, I know you're joking about it, but it was actually running around in my head. I am going to start a GoFundMe for you. So everybody watching this, as you know, Rev, our race control, we love him to death, is having major computer issues. I'm actually going to start it. I didn't discuss this with anybody. I'm just going to do it. And if y'all want to help, we're going to do a GoFundMe for Red to try to help him get a PC.
All right. Sounds great. And
and I'm gonna see if I can't reach out to Stenspill and see if we can get something working with him.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be great use of Stenspill's help. But I'm sure you'll post something about that in the Discord.
Yes. It was literally in the podcast. I was thinking about doing it, and I'm not even going to discuss with anybody. We're just going to do it. I'm going to post about it on socials and stuff. So if anybody has any kind of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, please share it. We need Rev back in the booth ASAP. And I think this is the best way we can show love to one of the best race controllers we have out there. And Rev could definitely use a new PC. He's having some major issues. So if you're willing to help, that would be amazing. I'm sure there's somebody out there that wouldn't mind helping out also within your circle of network.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I know we have a community here that can support Rev and help out when we need to. So good there. And again, quick shout out to all of our sponsors. Obviously, Buttkicker, Leader in Haptics, RevSimShop.com on that topic. Visit RevSimShop.com.
Let me do it.
Go ahead.
Hey, you can get yourself a lucky 13 button box over at RevSimShop.com. Head over there. You can get paint jobs, race control, or yourself a button box. So go check him out. Give him some love and get yourself some Rev Sim Shop gear. In
addition to that, Sundance Pizza, the best pizza on the western side of the Mississippi. Ideally's Ascendance Trucks and Advanced GG, and the promo code for Advanced GG is WolfX Live 10 for 10% off your order. And without further ado, we'll see you next week at Kansas, y'all, for the Rev Sim Shop Race Control Appreciation 250 at Kansas next Tuesday, December 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern on Pit Stop TV.
And it will be the first race to the BRB Bonus Brawl.
That it will. And good luck to you guys, and we'll see y'all then. Carl, sign us off. You're on mute.
Typical Carl muteness. You're still on mute.
What is going on? I'm sorry, the dogs were causing chaos outside. I had to go investigate. All right, buckle it up.
Buckle it up.
Buckle it up.
Or you'll die.
We'll see y'all next week. Thank y'all for tuning in and being part of the league. Appreciate you.